Roee Ruttenberg, who is following the latest developments. Roee, what can you tell us?
Francis, we're hearing from the mayor of Poway that at least one person has died in that shooting incident. We're also hearing from hospital officials that they have 4 people that they're treating. All 4 of those people, of course, are alive. And as you mentioned, police do have a suspect in custody. We understand that it is a male. We also understand that there are FBI officials on site there at that synagogue in Poway, a pretty affluent community. This is a large synagogue there in Southern California. This incident happening about 3 hours ago. The mayor of Poway saying that his community will come together, people of all faith, to support the Chabad and Jewish community there in Poway. And the mayor has called this a hate crime. He said it's clear to him that this is an anti-Semitic incident. That, of course, is a distinction from law enforcement officials who may at some point call this a hate crime. We do know that hate crimes have been going up in California for the last 3 years in a row, and indeed across the country. We also understand that the shooter fired 10 rounds and then left the synagogue before being apprehended. Now, this comes on Saturday morning during what is known as the Sabbath, Shabbat, when there would normally be services at that synagogue anyway, but this is also the last day of Passover. The synagogue was was holding its last day of Passover festival, its festivities throughout the day, which they posted online, which is very reminiscent of what happened exactly 6 months ago to the day in Pittsburgh, that shooting, the massacre there at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh that left 11 people dead, 7 injured, the worst attack on the Jewish community in the United States in recent history. The shooter there, the 46-year-old male shooter, saying he found out about the synagogue's events online. So a lot of people here drawing a suggested parallel. Of course, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but the fact that both of those happened on a Saturday morning, on the Sabbath, on events advertised online in exactly 6 months to the day, has many people automatically assuming that these two may be linked. Francis?
And Roee, what more do we know about this specific synagogue and the community there?
Well, this is part of a branch known as Chabad. They are very visible in the United States for the outreach work that they do. And unlike the synagogue in Pittsburgh, which is part of the more liberal branches of the United States, Jews that often, at least visually, may assimilate into the rest of America, members of the Chabad community often dress very distinctly in their white and black clothes, and they often do very festive things in public. Aside from their outreach with the Jewish community, they also do a lot of outreach with the non-Jewish community. In Los Angeles, for example, they run a rehab facility. I'm not sure about the Poway facility. It is a rather large building, so I do assume that there is outreach events that are happening to the general community there. But they do a lot of work we do understand that they do a lot of work with members that perhaps might be unstable, and this could perhaps be connected to that. Now, we are getting some sound now from the sheriff there in Poway. Let's have a listen to what he had to say.
This morning at approximately 11:23 hours, deputies responded to the Chabad temple here in Poway regarding active shooter situation. Deputies arrived a short time later. They found several victims with varying injuries. We were able to detain one suspect at this time, one shooter. We're confident that there are no shooters that are outstanding. The victims have all been transported to the hospital, and the reports regarding the missing children, they have been located. We do not believe we have any children that are missing at this time.
And one last thing to note, one of the things authorities are worried about are copycat incidents for 2 reasons. One, this is a Sabbath, so many people who are religiously observant won't be able to hear that this has happened. They won't be able to find out. They won't be checking their phones or online hearing about the news. They fear that makes them more vulnerable. And 2, if this is connected to a 6-month mark from that Tree of Life attack, specifically on this day, they do fear that there could be other copycat incidents across the United States to link up those 2 dates, and they are urging people both to be extra cautious and in some places deploying additional security to the Jewish community. Francis?
Roee Ruttenberg live for us. Thank you, Roee, for that update.